Hey guys, it's Kay Journey, and I am back today actually to plot a novel with you guys. Well, let me rephrase that. I got an idea for a story that I can't write right now. I've got too many other things going on, but I have a really cool idea, and so what I wanted to do was kind of plot around my idea a little bit, because it's only like one tiny part of the story. So I'm thinking about building the rest of the story with you guys and seeing how it goes. And then if I like it, I will add that to my idea and save it for later, like years down the road, because it's a zombie story. And I'm currently writing dark fantasy that deals with fairies and old gods and things like that. So totally off genre, way off topic, not something that fits anything at all, but it's in my head and I need to get it out. Editing Kaylee here. So, two things to add to the very beginning of this. I'm using Katie Tastic's 27 scene plotting outline thing. I will link her down below. Also, this is part one of a two-part video. When I was filming this, I had absolutely no idea it was going to take as long as it did. And then my phone decided that it wasn't going to upload it. So this is part one of plotting this zombie experimental story thing. So I'm going to do my best to keep this from having crazy autofocus problems. I think I've got it, but if it starts to act up again, I'm like preemptively saying I'm sorry. I am back on my phone. Filming on the iPad kind of became very precarious. Cameras are still, I don't know what the heck is going on with them. So for now, we are doing this. Anyway, I'm going to sit down and get started. Okay, so for a zombie movie or a zombie show or zombie anything, one of the first things that happens is we kind of see the characters in their own light. So we're just going to go with we're going to go with John. John, oh wow, I can spell John. At work. What does John do? Especially with that name. John, let's say he's a teacher. Let's say he teaches fourth grade. Already we're setting this up to be quite the adventure for this poor man, and quite the horror story, because really, who wants zombie children? Okay, so inciting incidents. Well, it's got to be John. See a zombie for the first time. Okay. Okay, so now we need to decide what kind of zombies are these going to be. Are they going to be like the old school classic, walking corpses where they're slow but methodical, they don't stop, so once they see you, they just kind of chase in that direction until they can find you, they can smell you, like The Walking Dead? Or are they going to be fast and more efficient predators like in World War Z? Or do we want them to be something like in the movie The Last of Us, where they like slowly morph into other things, which is really cool. Not the movie, the show The Last of Us. It's based on a game, isn't it? I never played the game. I love the show though. It made me cry. Lots and lots. So I don't know exactly what type of zombies I want to be working with. I kind of want them to be more than like mindless corpses that just kind of follow, but not quite. I don't want them to be as efficient as in The Last of Us or in World War Z. I don't want them working together like ants. In World War Z, they were based on ants, which was like the coolest idea ever, and we don't want to copy that. So, what am I thinking? Okay, so we know in a zombie story that the zombies are usually they're a part of the environment that's extremely hazardous, and the actual antagonists, the bad guys, are people. So, and I think that the military personnel as the bad guys has been done a lot in a lot of different places, so I want to avoid that. I also want to avoid like the crazy guy who really wants a lot of power. That's also been done a lot. Let me think. I got it. It's a school principal. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how he's going to become the bad guy, but the school principal is going to be the bad guy. So let's say, for the sake of argument, for just right now, this story takes place in the school. So we've got, let's see, our complications. We've got a bunch of kids. What do we know about kids? They do not follow directions. They are not quiet. Are not quiet. They tend to be fast. And they can hide in small places. So we've already created this really interesting tension here because zombie kids are going to be terrifying. Like, absolutely, Children of the Corn, like, there's going to be zombie kids. There's also going to be zombie parents who tried to rescue their kids and got taken out. There's going to be zombie teachers. And there will be zombie police that have tried to come and save the kids. There will also very likely be living police officers. Maybe even because it is a school, and we know that in times of crisis, the oh gosh, what's it called? Firefighters come to schools to help in times of crisis. They usually have more medical personnel and, things like that. So we're going to go with firefighters. And some parents. And teachers. Okay. So we've already got this kind of tension here where we've got kids whose parents are zombies and parents whose kids are zombies and parents who have kids that are alive and kids who are completely alone with, the grown-ups. The problem with kid zombies is, number one, it almost takes it too far, and number two, they are in some ways easier to defeat but harder, because who wants to be responsible for killing kids? Even though they're zombies, even though they're monsters, they're still kids. And in our Western culture, we really, really, really value our kids. So this is set up to be a wild horror story. Like, this is probably taking it a little too far. But we're going to go with it because, why not? So we're going to plot that out. Okay. So probably because this is a teacher and these are the kids, some point in the midpoint, John is going to have to decide that it's okay to kill zombie kids. In order to save the other kids. This is going to be the big argument. How do you kill the zombie kids? Or how do you save the other kids? Well, you're going to have to kill the zombie kids, which really, really, really sucks. This is going to hurt for him. Let's see. Okay, so the darkest moments. Classroom overrun. This is definitely going to be the darkest moment. Classroom overrun. Loses kids. Okay, So if we've got an antagonist who's a person who's trying to be in charge and who's trying to control everything, but he's doing a bad job, let's call him Paul. Okay. So Paul is a jackass. And so let's say, Paul to gather zombie kids. Uh, let's say that's what he starts to do. That's where he starts out. He starts out as wanting to gather these zombie kids. He wants to be a good guy. He wants to be a savior, right? So let's put that here. And probably around, I want to say like right here is where Paul is going to weaponizes zombie kids. So he starts off as this kind of let's save them, which is wildly understandable. Like you want to save the kids, but he's going to try to weaponize them. And because he's got some parents on his side who are very don't kill my kids, we'll find a cure, don't you dare. That's where that comes in. John's just trying to save the living kids. Paul is trying to wait for a cure here. Let's say he's waiting for a cure here, and here he's decided to weaponize them. And because Paul knows the school just as well as John does, he's going to be able to do things like send the zombie kids after the classroom. The classroom gets overrun. So let's see. John is going to find a safe place for kids, for living kids. All right. So if this is finding a safe place for the living kids, then right here, he needs to recognize that he can save the ones that he's got with him. Which means he's going to find a safe place to put them, which is going to have to be something that the principal would not expect. So if there's a basement or something like that, that's not the place to go. If there's like a roof, also not the place to go. I would imagine something like in the ducting, in the ceiling, something like that, but I would definitely have to think about it. It would absolutely depend on the layout of the school. So for this, I would want to make sure that I had a really cool school layout. Okay. So the unexpected plot twist, or the plot twist or unexpected hope. Some of parents join John. Or poorly spelled John. Okay, so let's say that's the unexpected hope is our parents join John, but in the process of them joining him, the classroom is overrun and they lose a bunch of kids. So, okay, so here he weaponizes the zombies. Here, Paul gets creative and finds a way to break into let's see, what would you find a way to, what do you need to break into? Paul would need to break into something that leads to this classroom being overrun. Perhaps it's into barricaded hallway. maybe what happens here is that in order... Okay, let's put you... Okay, Paul gets into the barricaded hallway. So, let's say right there, John barricades hallway. Yeah, let's go right here. So these kids get weaponized against him. Actually, we'll put it here. So John barricades the hallway. Now, this is an example of I'm not actually using some of these labels. So right here, this is not the old juxtaposition. Like, we're not looking at the old world and the new world together. John is barricading a hallway. Now, I could potentially make it an emotional old juxtaposition, like, you know, he's thinking about all the times that these kids ran through this hallway all happy and you know, whatever, and then he's looking at these zombie kids that he's desperately trying to keep away from the living kids and the terror of the kids that are behind him. So we know that there's no way that they can actually hide because these kids won't be quiet. So that's probably something that we're going to have to figure out how to keep them quiet. That would be something that would need to happen there. So John would figure out a way to keep them quiet. Maybe it's a game that he needs to play with them. Maybe it's something different. That would also be another thing that John would need to do in the beginning. Make it a game for the kids. So this is where this major conflict starts right here. So maybe group breaks apart. Here. Yeah. Okay. So that means that they have an argument about a cure here. Okay. So we're looking at this. So John sees his first zombie. This would have to be where the zombies break into the school. Like maybe he sees his first zombie. Actually, we could even have the zombies breaking into the school before he even knows what's going on. So he's at work, he's teaching, he's having a great time in his classroom, and then he looks out the window or something rattles the door and he looks out the door and he sees a person who's bloody and gross and they're clawing at the door rather than opening it. So fallout here is lockdown procedure starts. Lockdown procedure starts here. So let's say, because we are talking about something happening in the United States, we are definitely going to have schools that know how to deal with active shooter drills. So we're going to have the lockdown process start here. And then Paul is going to try to get everybody to gather all the zombie kids in the school to like the gymnasium or something like that. And maybe he actually succeeds. Maybe he gets the kids, as many of them as he can, into the gymnasium. But they're breaking out of the gymnasium. So let's go. Gym full of children of corn. That's a reference to a movie. Okay, so this will be right in between these two. And that's another thing, is that these don't have to be exactly static. So he's got this gym full of kids that are, you know, zombie monsters and whatnot, and parents. And then outside, they're going to see that they're breaking out. So they're, excuse me. So they're arguing about a cure. In the meantime, people are dying everywhere. So waiting for some magical cure isn't going to save the kids that are alive. They need to get out now. So some decide to stay, some decide to break apart. So the pressure is trying to get out of the school. Living kids of school. Okay, so they know that the school is overrun. There's lots of people, lots of bodies, lots of zombies. So the plot twist is that they cannot get out of the school. So maybe they get to a bus. And let's see, the bus is surrounded. Okay, so this will go actually right in between these two because we want our plot twist to be maybe they're saved by Paul. They're saved by Paul with megaphone. So he makes a big loud noise, gathers more zombies. Unfortunately, let's say a bunch of zombies flood from the road. The road. So now John and the living parents and the living children have to run back into the school. Because it's their only shelter and the only way that they will avoid being seen, even if they cannot completely avoid being heard. So, in this new world, let's say John, because Paul saved them here, I have to make it so that John does something to piss off Paul here. Perhaps John, here, let's go after this. So this is our push, is run back into the school. John kills and parents kill kid zombies. In order to get the other kids to safety. And this is part of their argument. And Paul gets absolutely furious seeing this, and leaves them on their own. So let's say on their own. Okay. So let's say Paul, angry, decides that John would care about a cure if he was sick. Okay, so he weaponizes the zombie kids. He basically opens it up and sends the zombie kids after John and the other kids in an effort to try to get him to care about finding a cure for these other kids. So we can really understand both Paul's stance and John's stance. The problem is the way that Paul is going about it is going to get everybody killed and infected, whereas John is just trying to save his small group of people, and he somehow has to justify in his head killing zombies. So we need to establish somewhere up here that the zombies are already, well, actually, no, probably somewhere in here. We need to decide, we need to realize that these zombie kids are not sick. They are already dead. So how, here's a big question for myself. Let's grab another different color. And that, unfortunately, is where I'm going to have to stop this video as my phone is having issues. So there will be a part 2 posted as soon as this one is up. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out that next video when it comes up.